As part of Ferrari Fridays, William Ross from the Exotic Car Marketplace will be discussing all things Ferrari and interviewing people that live and breathe the Ferrari brand. Topics range from road cars to racing, drivers to owners, as well as auctions, private sales, and trends in the collector market.
Hello, everyone. Glad to have you back. This is William here. Welcome to the Ferrari Marketplace. Hey, just kind of want to give a couple, not say shout outs, but just kind of some info out there and get some things here growing. If you just kind of do go on Facebook, I got the Ferrari Marketplace in a group for posting in any cars, any Ferraris you have for sale or a Ferrari you're looking for. If there's some specific model, whatnot, post it on there and we can see what we can do to help you. And as you know, we got the podcast, and coming soon, we're going to have the YouTube channel. It's the channel name's already up, but I haven't got any content yet. But working on that. Next week, headed out to California to go to some Ferrari events that are going to be really, really special. So it's going to be some really good stuff. So keep your eyes out for that. I'll let you know the next podcast when I got that drop. But just kind of keep an eye out there and check on YouTube, and you'll see it. And I'll post it out there in all the places on Facebook, YouTube, and I also got the webpage, www.theferrarimarketplace.com. So check it out and let me know. It's not the greatest. I'm not the most digitally advanced person. I don't know if I mentioned before, my ADD really kind of prohibits me from actually sitting down for hours on end and trying to put the thing together because I just get distracted and I just get frustrated. And so it's best bet, to go out there and utilize and get some support from other people. I don't know if you ever used it. I highly recommend Fiverr. They're not paying for any sponsorship on this. I'm just letting you know that Fiverr is awesome to get some other things done and hire some freelance people. I've used them a few times, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's not like thousands of dollars. It's $100 here or $50 here to get something simple done. So I got a guy working on a couple of things for me now to kind of give me a little better exposure and spruce things up a bit. But anyways, so for today's episode, what I want to talk about is the brand new Ferrari Formula One car that just got dropped. Now, I don't know how much all of you follow F1, but I'm a huge rabid fan for God knows how many years. Back in the golden era, so to speak, from the 80s all the way on, and, the beautiful, gorgeous, V12s and the V10s and V8s, that screaming sound that they would have, that was just, And then if you ever had the opportunity, I don't know, demographic-wise, but age-wise, but there was nothing like hearing that V8, V10 screaming in person. It was just unbelievable sound that was done. I mean, it just sent chills up your spine. It just really, really made it. And it was sad when they had to go to the electric stuff and that jazz and especially with all the turbo stuff they had to use and kind of really just muted the sound. Now, I don't know how you follow it, but I've heard some of the new cars, because they really worked on that for these new cars. And I think actually having this extra year really kind of helped also, because I know they were supposed to drop for 2021 season, but because of COVID and the pandemic, they decided to push it out for the 2022 season. So I honestly think that was very, very fruitful for the teams especially, and the FIA, getting it right, getting the sauce right, so to speak, because, this is, the premier racing event in the world. It's, it's second to none. I think, soccer is the only more viewed sport in the world, after F1. So, or before F1, I should say. So it's just a phenomenal sport, and you watch it, and, it's, some people may look at it, these guys got certain teams dominate and everything like that. Well, it's a cycle. It always happens. Yeah, Mercedes has been, pretty much leading the pack here since, 2014 now. But, hey, Max Verstappen last year, he put it – that was awesome. I couldn't believe that last race. That was phenomenal. And hats off to Masi, however you pronounce his last name, for making that decision to let those 5 cars between him and Lewis go. Hey, no, get around it. Let's have a last lap dash. I mean, hey, there's a lot of money in line. I get it, prestige and whatnot, but you know what? This is for the viewer. And you talk about, I was jumping up and down, screaming when that last lap started and Max got past him. And nothing against Lewis, but I'm just not a big fan of Lewis. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't appreciate how he presents himself and handles his business. But I was a Max Verstappen fan. So I mean, after being my Ferrari fan with Leclerc and Carlos there, but that was an awesome race. So I don't know if you had the opportunity to catch it, but I highly, I've rewatched it a few times. Now I haven't rewatched the whole race. I watched the last about 15 minutes, but still, it's just phenomenal to watch. It still gets me just tingly. It's just awesome to see. But anyways, get back to what we're going to talk about is the new Ferrari F1 car. So obviously, in the past year, said they were supposed to come out in 2021 because of the pandemic. They get released this year, and they're starting to drop all the things. The teams are starting to drop it. So it's interesting to see everyone's take on the rules and regulations and how they interpret it. Now, it's it's a completely radically different design because like I said, how much you follow it or whatnot. Now, prior. What they have now, way back, was in the 70s into the 80s, they actually had the ground effects. Lotus was pretty much the pioneer of it and coming out with those cars. And it was a really interesting concept in how they did it because they had these like floating little side pod, like these composite material that actually moved up and down because it had to go with the flow of the road. Because if it got too high or whatnot, all of a sudden all the suction was lost and you're in the wall. They were if you lost it, forget about it. You were done. It was not a fun time to be driving that car. But anyway, so then they got away from doing that type of car and having ground effects, and they moved to that flat bottom. And it's they call it a wood. It's just a wood plank. That was underneath the car, and because it kind of gave, for regulation-wise, to monitor, be sure ride heights and everything along those lines and stuff, sparks flying, all that jazz. Went to those. So basically, the cars were basically just reliant on the wings and airflow around the car and over the car. So that's what created the problem the cars were following is the air that was disrupted coming over the car was so turbulent behind the car following, it took all the air and everything off it, so you had no downforce. So you couldn't get in, the corner going, and you're going to have to put more steering input into the steering wheel. So obviously what that does is scrubs more on your tires, so this ruins your tires quicker. So all the effects kind of just compounds and goes down the line. So that was the biggest problem is, you couldn't follow another car and try and make anything competitive and pass them. So, and they came up with the brilliant idea for the DRS. And I don't know, you could love it or hate it. I don't know. It's one half and one the other, but it's just a foregone conclusion when someone's within a second behind that person and they drop that little button, that thing opens up, they're going to pass them. So it's not so much down to drivers, just around, hey, drop that thing in straight line speed. So, they're still going to have it for 2022, but I don't know how much it'll be fixed. So I don't know, it'll be interesting. Obviously, they created it because they wanted to have passing. They put it in DTM. They did the same thing because, no one really wants to just see freight trains. People want to see passing going on. And, this past season was phenomenal in regards to, passing, interaction, everything on the track. And, if you seriously look at, top to bottom of the field, you're not talking like a difference of 15 seconds, 20 seconds from the first place guy to last place guy. You're talking maybe a second. Depending on the track, you get down to some slow guys, it could be only about 2 seconds per lap that they're slower. And 2 seconds is not that much. 1,000, 2 1,000. That's it. So, that is how much difference is, and then slower going on the track. But, that compounds it as you go through the race, obviously. If you're doing 60, 70, 80 laps, it happens everything, so it's going to grow. Obviously, just keeps building itself up. And it's, foregone conclusion in regards to that stuff. But anyways, the new cars and have it coming out, they obviously are going back to the ground effects design. So they are trying to eliminate, well, I'd say eliminate, but their biggest thing, because you're always going to have the airflow going over the car. And it's always going to be a situation where whoever following is going to have some dirty air, so to speak. But what they're trying to do is maintain that air so it's more, I want to say structured, so it flows better. So if you look at some of the things on it, like on the previous cars, as the air got back over the rear wing, it was so turbulent because you had air coming over from the sides underneath, go around. So it just created this almost this whirlwind, I won't say tornado, but just this really disturbed unstructured air that really was very volatile to the car behind it. So these new cars, as that air goes over it and goes past the car, it's a lot more flowed. So where it actually should come down onto the car following it. So what that's going to do is keep the car having downforce and be able to follow the car closer, hopefully, that it won't really damage tires and what have you, but it'll be able to have a little more, I would say, wheel action, to be able to pass more and not trying to plan it where you're going to have to pass with DRS. This is stuff we'll be able to actually pass in corners and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited. I think, about another 8, 9 days, 10 days, they're going to have their first test. I believe it's going to be, I don't know if it's in Abu Dhabi again or if they going back to Spain. It's one of the two. I can't remember. I know they keep switching it up. So it's going to be great to see all these cars on track and just see the times, whatnot, and how the drivers react to us. Now, I know these guys, do a ton simulation, sim driving, but there's nothing like being in the actual car and seat of the pants driving. That's one of the things that someone that's a good driver, they can feel everything through their ass. So it's, just the sensations, the feelings, everything like that. They're just the nuances. I know these new simulators are unbelievable. They're crazy expensive. And they can really get in with the G's and whatnot and how those things work and really give you that sensation. But there's nothing like being in an actual car driving. Now, I heard a couple cars right now. I heard, the Alfa running. They got a Ferrari engine. And, wow, it sounded good. It sounded really good. So I'm curious to see when they get these on track. I know a couple other manufacturers that dropped their cars, have done a little shakedown stuff. So, I think I can't remember what the FIA allows them to do for the shakedown. It's not a lot. So it's not like they're just banging out laps, starting to do research on this and testing. It's more just, hey, is everything working? Is everything where it needs to be? Is this how it is? It's not like really getting the feel of it and set up for the car. Because here's the big thing. Now, how much you're a racing person or whatnot, but when you go racing and you race at a track, you take notes. You have your suspension settings, tire pressures, everything, camber, adjustment, all the toe in, toe out, the whole 9 yards. You write all that down, how it was set up, everything, especially if you did good, because what happens when you come back to that track again, you reference those notes. Now, are they going to be working that next time? No, but it's a starting point for when you're at the same track you were at before. So it gives you something to work from. And it was, and especially if it was successful, that's what you want to have. So it's a great tool to utilize. But so now what do they do now? I know computers can run the simulations, everything like that, to try and get where it needs to be in the whole 9 yards. But again, you can't take into account track conditions, what the asphalt, what the surface is doing, and everything. Because another fact is, they're going to these 18-inch rims now. They were 13s, 14s before. Can't really quite remember. I know it was like 13 or 14-inch diameter on the rim. So, and they had huge sidewalls on these cars. So, and the sidewall, and obviously big the sidewall, they were stiff to an extent, but gave quite a bit. So you had that roll in the corners and that. So it gives it that weird feeling. And said again, I don't know if you've ever driven a race car, but I have, and it's just a weird sensation. So when going to these 18 inches, obviously it reduces the sidewall. And what happens is to make these tires last, that sidewall is a lot stiffer. So these tires are going to be completely different than what they're used to running. Now, I know the Formula E guys, they've been running, these rims for ever since they started. So it's an interesting look. I'll give it that. But what, they're doing this year for the F1 cars is they, have those wheel discs inside it that kind of is more, I don't know, makes it more solid. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks good. I mean, I like it. So it's a totally different look, and I love the fact is because it still looks like a Formula F1 car. They didn't go nuts with it. I mean, I don't know about you, watching IndyCar. I'm not a fan of that Lexan shield that they're using. So it makes it almost basically an enclosed cockpit. I don't know. Something about it looks like, I wasn't a fan when the Halo came out, but it's grown on me and after, I guess, especially after seeing what IndyCar did. The Halo's not bad, and it's proven to work. I mean, you just look at last year with Max and going in and with Hamilton, and him going up over his car and his tire ended up on Hamilton's head. So it's proven that it works. So it's something that's, obviously it's here to stay. It ain't go anywhere, but I just like the look of it now. And they've incorporated it well into the car, so it's not very intrusive to the look and the flow of the car. But anyways, getting back to the Ferrari F1 car for 2022. Now they came out, it's interesting because I think the red is, it's like a little more, I would say a bloodish red. It's a little bit darker hue than previous reds. But what's cool that I like is they went with the black wings and there's like a black accents to it. I really dig that. I like that look. And I know they've had to kind of walk away from Marlboro, and that Mission Win Now stuff is gone. And, I don't know if it was more all of a sudden they just really cracked down and said, look, this isn't working because people know what this is and everything like that. Still basically advertising, tobacco. So that's completely gone. But they brought on a few other major sponsors, to help. And, as you probably know, if you're an F1 person, is the fact is, there's a cost caps playing into this season. So they only have the 140 million, 145 million, I think it is, for this season. Then it reduces next year and the year after that down to 125 or something like that million. So keeping the cap on there, so it's like, that's why Ferrari's getting into the endurance racing, because they have this extra money to go racing, because it would have just went into the F1 program, but so they're going to put it first, which is awesome. It's going to be great to see Ferrari back at Le Mans. I can't wait to have that. I mean, there's going to be in 2023, they should all be showing up, I believe it is. Porsche's coming back, Ferrari's going to be there. There's a few other manufacturers getting back involved in it. So I'm super excited for that. So I'm trying to do is get over there for that race next year in 2023 to see that and be part of it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, pandemic hopefully is way over by then, that I can get over there. So, but back to the F1 car. Now, design elements wise, the whole new front wing's completely different. They only allowed to have those 4 elements, up to 4 elements, I should say, because some other teams aren't actually doing all 4 of those and using 3 elements on that front wing. Ferrari's going all out and using 4. Now, another interesting aspect of it is the width of that wing. Now, it goes basically from the outside of the front wheels to each end. So it's the width of the car. But there's no more of those ridiculous like turning vanes and all the other crap that was on these most recent cars. I mean, any little thing, it was just baffling. I'd say baffling. I get the gist of it, because for airflow, and they're trying to do what they can. They're trying to get the car and the air to go around the wheels and into certain spots, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. But it just make the cars look hideous. I mean, I don't know if you ever watched any of this stuff back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, when they had no wings. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, I know we'll never go back to that, but, hey, it was all basically just mechanical grip from the suspension and that, and the tires and the driver. So now you got all this other aero aid stuff. I got that in there too. So, but then kind of moving back on the car, it's, the side pods are a totally different shape. And the way this flow around, it's kind of interesting too, because as you look at it from the side, side pod's got your wall in there, but as it goes up and over and around back to the cockpit, it drops back down and curves over the car. So the way they got the airflow coming around that and going through it is pretty cool. I mean, the car looks phenomenal. Another aspect I really, really dig is the rear wing. Now, on this thing, they have it, it's pretty, style-wise, they have, it's tucked in basically the width, the inside width of the rear tires, maybe just a smidge outside it. But again, it's not anything crazy. It's not some big obtrusive wing. They got all these different elements and everything on it. It's very simplified, and it looks gorgeous, I think, because it's not obnoxious. Because they're basically trying to do is to get all the ground effects underneath the car to basically do a majority of the downforce, so to suck it down to the road. So their goal is to have that be the major factor in keeping these cars and giving them, the downforce that they require and need to be able to go around the corners and that stuff as fast as they do, and like the parabolic and all that stuff. We clip it along at 180, 190 miles an hour, going around this bend. The car's got to be able to suck to the ground. So, again, I'm super excited to see where this heads and how these cars run on the road. So we got, the first one test of the season coming up in, a little over a week. So I tell you what, I think it's just going to be an awesome season, and we're going to see who gets it right and who gets it wrong again, because this is completely new, totally redesigned cars. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Some are going to get it right, some are going to get it wrong. Some are going to be kind of feminine. But, the hope is, I think the midfield cars, I think it's really going to kind of bunch them up some more. So I think there's going to be a ton of great wheel-to-wheel racing in the midfield cars. I hope Haas kind of gets their shit back together. Supposedly, in conversations Gunther Steiner's had, that because they didn't put any development into the 2021 car. They just maybe a couple little bits here and there, but everything was full hog going towards the 2022 car. So now, is when they came out when they launched, when their initial year they came out, they actually were doing good. They were pretty competitive. But as the year went on, they couldn't keep up with the changes of the car and updates of the car. They just I don't know if it was internal or whatnot, because they don't really have so much manufactured on car. It's manufactured out there by the facility by someone else. I don't know if you're familiar with how they circumvented the rules, but hey, they're allowed them to do it. Because in Formula One, you had to build your own chassis. You can get the car from the engine from someone else, but you had to build your own chassis. But they went a different route and had an outside entity build it for them. And so I don't know how much that plays throughout the season, how much they help with the aerodynamics and updates to the car, but. Again, hopefully, Haas can kind of pick up the game because they're powered by Ferrari. They're kind of, I don't know how much they are. You really didn't hear much about it. When they first came out, you heard quite a bit of how Haas was the, Ferrari support team, so to speak, and doing stuff and that. But, they weren't doing good. So you just wouldn't hear much. But as far as I know, they still have that collaboration with Ferrari regarding certain aspects of the car, because they get the engine, the gearbox, I think some other things from Ferrari. I think the brakes. The maximum stuff that they're allowed that they can source from another manufacturer that they don't have to design and build themselves. So, I mean, that's a big cost savings, and again, kind of going back to budgets and whatnot. Now, Haas I don't even think they had a budget of, close to 140, 150 million, even the previous years. I think they were doing between 80 to 100. So, I mean, this budget cap's going to be great. Now, who knows? And they might be able to bring in more sponsors. So we shall see. A little side note, I don't know if anyone's following it, is old Rich Energy is supposed to be coming back into F1. They keep teasing stuff like that, and they're getting made fun of. So I don't know what team would be willing to jump on board with them as a sponsor after what happened with Haas the other season. I mean, that was just a debacle. So it'll be interesting to see. That Williams Story guy that's running that supposedly owner and whatnot. I mean, he's got money coming from somewhere or whatnot. God only knows. But so I don't know, we'll see. So I'm kind of curious to see if they're actually going to be a sponsor on one of the cars. So, they showed pictures, but hey, you can get an old F1 car and have someone give you, current whatever and doll it all up with stickers and everything like that. So I don't know, so we shall see. So, but again, hopefully, Charles and Carlos will get themselves back up to the front and be battling Mercedes and Red Bull. It'd be awesome to have that three-way battle going. Alpine might be up there too. I mean, you never know. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what comes about for this season, because everyone started from scratch. Everyone's got all new cars, all new design. So we shall see where this heads. I'm super excited for the season to start, and it's going to be gangbusters, I think. It's lots of development. Red Bull's even made the comment that, the car they start the season out in 2 races in, every race it's going to be, the car's going to be different to like a major extent, because there's updates, everything like that, because they're getting all the feedback. They're getting all, everything they're taking from the car and what they're learning and getting the aspect. Because again, you can do all the sim stuff you want, but until that car's out on the track and hey, you're putting wheels to the ground, hitting the pavement, you won't really have the perfect idea of how this thing's going to run. So fingers crossed, they're back up front where they belong. Bring back to the glory. Hey, especially it's the 75th anniversary of Ferrari for this season. And hey, I'm the day I'm taping this is actually Enzo's birthday. So I don't know when you might end up listening to this, but hey, it is Enzo's birthday today. Was it February 18th? So just a little more information for you, a little tidbit for that. So, but anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate you listening, and I think I'm trying to put together thoughts for the next car. I think I might talk about the new 296 that's coming out on the next episode. I'm really excited about that car, and I'm looking forward to have the opportunity to drive. I'm going out to California next week, and I think I might have the opportunity to take it for a spin and see. So it's been the spiritual successor to the Dino. So we shall see. So, hey, again, I really appreciate y'all listening. Hey, and remember, Forza Ferrari.
This episode has been brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports as part of our Motoring Podcast Network. For more episodes like this, tune in each week for more exciting and educational content from organizations like the Exotic Car Marketplace, the Motoring Historian, Break Fix, and many others. If you'd like to support Grand Touring Motorsports and the Motoring Podcast Network, sign up for one of our many sponsorship tiers at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. Please note that the content, opinions, and materials presented and expressed in this episode are those of its creator, and this episode has been published with their consent. If you have any inquiries about this program, please contact the creators of this episode via email or social media as mentioned in the episode.